What are friends? Friends are there to pick you up when you're feeling a little down. Friends are there to rearrange someone's face when they're acting like a clown. Friends are a hamster, a fish, and an owl in Kirby's Dream Land 2. If you ain't fighting on their side, well, man, I'd pity you.
Kirby's back, and the Flappy One brought 3 rowdy friends. It's a punked-up, powered-up Kirby in Kirby's Dream Land 2. New for Game Boy and Super Game Boy.
Will you be my friend?
They really demonized Kirby and his friends in this commercial. Jeez. Why can't we have more creative commercials like that? I mean, sure, nowadays, the new ones Nintendo puts out explains what the game is about, but it's not really as creative, you know? I just wish there were more creative commercials like that. I mean, this kind of commercial died out in the early 2000s. Hello everyone, Alec Elger, the SideQuest Gamer here, and last week I had everyone vote for the next review, and between the 4 games being Braid, Croc 2, Kirby's Dream Land 2, and Donkey Kong Land, Kirby's Dream Land 2 won, with Donkey Kong Land being a close second. As for the other games, well, I guess no one wanted me to review those, but I'll get to those eventually, probably after the marathon. But anyways, congratulations everyone, Kirby's Dream Land 2 won, and I'm going to review it before the Zelda Marathon begins.
Kirby, the pink whatever it is that is the gluttonous hero of Dreamland. Despite what the title says, this game is actually the 3rd entry in the Kirby series. The first one, while fun, was 5 levels long, plus the expert mode of those 5 levels. It's a decent game overall, but with the copy abilities not being introduced until Kirby's Adventure, and Dreamland 1 being very short. For $4, I'd say I'd give it a 76 out of 100. Like Mario Land 1, I was a little too generous with that title. But I do agree with my stance on Kirby's Adventure for the NES being the best in the series, as it introduced the copy abilities and felt more like a complete game. I 100%ed that game and I do not regret it.
So what exactly did Kirby's Dream Land 2 bring to the table? Well, quite a bit actually.
I don't know much about the development of this game other than the first 2 did pretty well, even Adventure despite being a late release on the NES, so it must have warranted a sequel, except it's back on its handheld roots. It was developed by HAL Laboratory once again, like the previous 2 entries, and published by Nintendo. I do know it was programmed to be compatible with the Super Game Boy add-on for the SNES, play it on a normal Game Boy, and it's a typical 2D grayscale game, but play it on the Super Game Boy, and the whole game is in color. Somewhat. Like each world would be a certain color it represents. Grassland is yellow scale, Big Forest is green scale, etc, etc. It's basically supposed to resemble the colors of the rainbow, which is a significant plot element of this game's story. Too bad the 3DS Game Boy re-releases can't emulate the Super Game Boy features, but I'd imagine toying around with the resolution downscaling would be more trouble than it's worth. The game was released on the Game Boy in 1995 and was one of the Game Boy's best sellers upon release, and like Super Mario Land 2, I can see why. The story involves a rainbow bridge that connects the 7 islands of Dreamland disappearing because an evil force named Dark Matter has stolen it. Even worse, it has possessed King Dedede, and now it's using its army to convert the world to its image.
Now, I know Dark Matter is supposed to be like the big reveal at the end, but it is heavily discussed in the instructions manual you can find online. And this game begins what I like to call the Dark Matter trilogy, because you will see more of it in Kirby's Dream Land 3 and Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards.
So Kirby sets out to stop it, but he isn't alone this time, as he's accompanied by 3 animal buddies that are actually a unique addition to the gameplay. There's Rick the Hamster, Kind the Fish, and Coo the Owl. The gameplay makes use of these animal companions, as say if Kirby has an ability like the electrical attack, well if Kirby is riding an animal companion, that power will be increased or modified depending on the creature you use. Rick has a bigger version of the electrical attack, Koo has a downward electrical attack, and Kind has a light bulb bomb that lights up dark rooms as well as shoots out the bulb as an attack, but you can also detonate it in midair. These animal companions can sometimes be necessary for the 7 rainbow drops needed to fight Dark Matter at the end, but they're hidden throughout one level in each world. Kirby will need an ability to reach it, but sometimes the animal companion's modified version of that ability, or even physique, to just get to that point is necessary. Like Ku is wind resistant and Kine is water pressure resistant. You can't bypass those obstacles without them, and that's why Kirby's Dream Land 2 is so unique, as it combines familiar elements but reinvents those elements with the addition of these 3 animal companions.
With all these neat additions, you would think that this game would be my favorite in the series, and it would have been, if it weren't for a few issues I had with the game.
While I do love the boss battles and I enjoy the simple yet exhilarating level design, I can't help but feel some of it is rehashed from Kirby's Adventure. Most notably the fight with the Sun and Moon boss, although I do think the damaged Wispy Woods is a nice touch as an acknowledgement to its previous 2 defeats, but like the previous game, I didn't understand why they had to reuse bosses. I also do think that the occasional backtracking for copy abilities and animal companions can be annoying, as well as sometimes I would have to go back to previous levels to get either that copy ability or more often an animal companion in order to have the necessary means to get one of the 7 rainbow drops in a level, but it's not too bad since once you beat a level, you can exit it at any time with the ability you acquired. Speaking of the rainbow drops, while this is a fun little side quest, I do think some of them can be really annoying to get, not just because of some of the backtracking, but also because if you have all you need, sometimes getting to that point without taking damage resulting in you losing your ability could be a challenge itself. Especially World Force Rainbow Drop, where you need Kine the Fish and the Flame ability, spit it out to swallow those boxes but not lose your Flame ability, and then after that box is gone, swallow the Fire ability again, repeat for the second box, swallow the Fire ability again, and there you go. But making sure you don't lose that Fire ability is a chore. I had to do this like 12 times because of one minor mistake screwing up the rest of the sequence. There's also 2 or 3 auto-scrolling levels that are designed unfairly, with one level in World 7 having you get crushed to death by the screen should you go the wrong way. This game is pretty easy even with the rare instance of trial and error level design. I also noticed some of the music, while a lot of it is original or somewhat of a retooling of previous games' chiptunes, I found some of them to be reused from the first Dream Land game especially. I mean, I love the Kirby soundtrack and there is more original tunes than reused ones. But I know that may bother some people. But all minor problems aside, and I mean they're really minor, and not as bad as I make them out to be, the graphics are just as good as the first games, with them looking more visually appealing on the Super Game Boy. But overall, Kirby's Dream Land 2 is a great Kirby game. I can't say it's the most progressive sequel, but definitely one of my personal favorite Game Boy games. Not my favorite entry in the series, but it would probably be in my top 5. I'd give it a 93 out of 100. It's a fantastic little handheld game that won't disappoint. For $4 on the 3DS eShop, I'd definitely say I got my money's worth.
And now that's out of the way, join me next week as I will begin my Zelda marathon, starting with Zelda 1 for the NES. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to stay awesome.